Okay, let's dive right into this explainer by tackling a problem we literally all face, especially when we're trying to learn something totally new. I mean, how on earth do you untangle a massive, intimidating system without getting completely overwhelmed? Well, today, we're going to look at a surprisingly simple visual tool that actually breaks down the most complex networks in the world into something you could honestly just draw on a napkin.
So can you map any complex system using just 4 letters? I know, it sounds like a total trick question, right? When you're sitting in a lecture hall or staring down a dense textbook, it kind of feels like you need an entire dictionary just to grasp the absolute basics of, say, a global economy or a massive tech ecosystem. But I want to challenge that idea right out of the gate. Let's drop our defenses against all that heavy academic jargon for a second. What if I told you that literally any platform, any ecosystem, can be mapped out using just 4 letters? And those 4 letters, C, O, P, and S. The COPS framework. Let's just strip away the intimidation factor right up front, okay? COPS simply stands for customers, other parties, providers, and supply. That's it. By defining these 4 really basic roles, we basically get a universal decoder ring for complex systems. Honestly, it doesn't matter if you're looking at a centuries-old trade route or just the apps on your smartphone. These 4 things are always your core players.
All right, moving into section 1, cracking the COPS code, where we're breaking down these 4 key roles.
So let's translate these abstract concepts into everyday functions just to prove that they really are the foundational building blocks of any network. C is your customer. This is the demand side, the people or places that are actually creating the need. S is supply, so that's whoever is providing whatever is needed to meet that demand. Pretty straightforward. Then P is the provider or the patron. They're the ones organizing, financing, and basically building the whole infrastructure that makes the system run. And finally, we have O, which stands for other parties. And this is brilliant, really, because it expands our view way beyond just simple buyers and sellers. O includes regulators, intermediaries, and even the local communities that are impacted by the system.
Let's look at section 2, the 3x3 platform grid. We're taking this from a concept to an actual spatial map. Let's think about the geography of this grid. It's actually amazing that a massive global system can start as just a 3x3 grid scribbled on an index card. It totally proves that mapping a network is as approachable as doodling notes in class. You really don't need fancy software for this. You just place the O at the top, the P at the bottom, the S on the left, and the C on the right. And boom, instantly you have a spatial architecture of how a system works. Now, when we look at a slightly more formalized version of this grid, notice that cross-shaped architecture we just built. By putting our 4 CO-COPS roles on the top, bottom, left, and right, we're intentionally leaving the 4 corners completely empty. And you might be wondering, why? Well, because those empty corners are incredibly useful. They act as open spaces where you can jot down extra messy data, things like resource flows, environmental impacts, or specific problems within the system. It keeps your main map super clean while still holding on to all that complex data. Up next is section 3, the relationship engine. Let's talk about the power of the center cell. Okay, so we've mapped the top, bottom, left, and right. But the absolute most crucial piece of this entire 3x3 grid lies right smack in the middle. The center cell is what connects everything, and the source material really emphasizes a key point here. This center cell isn't just another stakeholder or, a single company, it is the actual platform itself. It acts as this relationship engine where all the interdependent flows, communications, and exchanges actually happen. It's the glue that binds the customer, the supply, the provider, and the other parties all together. Without that center, you just have isolated groups. But with it, you have a living, breathing ecosystem. Let's see this in action in section 4, mapping historical ecosystems. Time to take the grid for a test drive. Let's test drive this model by applying it to a really heavy, highly complex historical example, the transatlantic slavery system. In this map, Europe and Britain act as the provider, right? They are organizing the ships and financing the trade. America is the customer cell, generating the economic demand. The Caribbean serves as the other parties, acting as crucial intermediaries. And Africa is mapped to the supply position. But, and this is vitally important to note, the source text explicitly clarifies that in this specific historical context, the term supply refers to a deeply exploitative system where enslaved human beings were coerced victims, absolutely not a voluntary commodity. The grid here neutrally exposes the brutal mechanical architecture of these interconnected relationships, showing exactly how the system functioned across completely different geographies. Moving right along to section 5, the fractal zoom effect, basically double tapping the map. So that historical map we just looked at is vast, covering entire continents. But what if we want to look closer? Well, this brings us to the fractal nature of the grid, which honestly works exactly like zooming in on your phone's map app. Just think about how you use a digital map. You see a whole country, you double tap on a city, and suddenly you see the individual streets. The fractal grid does the exact same thing with information. Step 1, you select a single stakeholder cell, let's say the provider cell. Step 2, you zoom in to decompose it. That single cell instantly expands into its own brand new 3x3 grid, so one cell becomes 9. Zoom in again, those 9 become 81. It's wild because it allows you to break down massive global systems all the way down to local actors without ever losing your place or getting overwhelmed.
Let's bring this closer to home in Section 6, Platforms in Your World, where we prove the universal applicability of this tool.
We just looked at a massive historical trade network that spanned oceans. But to prove just how versatile this 9-piece puzzle is for your everyday life, let's contrast that historical map with a modern university campus. Maybe even the very one you're sitting on right now. It is wild, but the exact same structural model clarifies both. At a university, the students and future employers are the customers, generating the demand. The faculty and their knowledge, that's the supply. The university administration is the provider, organizing the platform itself. And the government and local community act as the other parties. It's the exact same underlying architecture, just with different players. Let's do one more rapid-fire comparison to really drive this home. Take that university model we just built and compare it to a digital marketplace, like, say, the App Store on your phone. The buyers are your customers. The sellers are the supply. The platform company itself is the provider. And the payment processors and advertisers, they're the other parties. This totally cements the whole concept for us. This tool abstracts places into roles and roles into systems. And once you see the pattern, you honestly can't unsee it. Which brings us to the ultimate synthesis and the big action step from our sources. It says, deep understanding leads to better decisions, which lead to better systems, and ultimately a better world. And really, that is the core takeaway here. By using a tool like the COPS grid to map out the roles and relationships within a system, you actually achieve that deep understanding. You aren't just, memorizing isolated facts for a test. You are seeing the hidden wires that connect our entire world. And understanding those relationships, that's the absolutely crucial first step to improving them. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative question as we wrap up this explainer. What complex system will you map first? Seriously, whether you're trying to figure out the dynamics of your local student government, a messy global supply chain, or even just the latest tech startup, grab a pen, draw a simple 3x3 grid, and start finding the customers, the other parties, the providers, and the supply. You have the tool now, so it's time to get out there and use it.